Hello, everyone. I'm Macey Taylor, the creator, host, and producer of the Broad Statement Podcast. You can support me on Patreon, where you'll get early access to episodes, bonus episodes, and other exclusive content. Alright, I know I said I was going to continue the banned book series, but I won't. I'll release the follow-up exclusively on Patreon. Why? Because you guys would rather jam a pencil in your dick hole than listen to me talk about books. The banned book series was a major flop. They were my least popular episodes, and that makes me really sad, because I thought that was good, thought-provoking material. My stats tell me that the most viewed episode of Broad Statement has been the episode on gendered slurs. And even without the stats, it's the episode that I get complimented on the most. People always say, like, oh, I really fucking love the one where you say bitch and cunt a bunch of times. Okay, guys, I see how it is. I see who you are and what you want. I was a fool. You don't want smart, sassy comments on educational things. You want stupid, rude comments on inappropriate things. Oh, gosh. What a dope I've been. How dare I? I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. 'Cause I thought that we had something special. Here I was thinking that you were interested in me and the thoughts in my mind. But all you actually want is cuss words to come out of my warm, sexy mouth. It's fine. It's fine. No, really, it's fine. It's okay. Everything is alright. It's fine. I'm 100% okay. I mean, like, my chest is a little tight, but it's fine. I guess you guys win. I'll only talk about smart stuff if I can bring it up in a really ridiculously stupid way. Only the dumbest content forevermore. So that's why this week's episode is on the dirtiest letters written in history. You horny idiots. But one does not simply read dirty letters with no context. We live in a time where we have instant access to all of the knowledge known to man. And what do we do with this information? Nothing, mostly. In fact, we're usually busying ourselves looking at pictures and videos of naked people sucking and and fucking and... Oh my god. My computer autocorrected and wrote jazzing on each other's faces. I think you know the word that I was gonna say, but it's gonna be jazzing from now on. We're looking at pictures and videos of naked people sucking and fucking and jazzing on each other's faces. And hey, I'm not acting high and mighty, not for a second. I'm definitely low and puny, just like everybody else. What's the old adage? There's nothing like unwinding after a long, hard day of work by scrolling through 457 pages of Pornhub till you find the right 20-second clip to bust a nut. Personally, I prefer using Reddit for porn because I watch porn on mute. And I know that makes me sound like there's someone trapped in a well in my basement screaming for help, but hear me out. I have legit hearing loss. I can't hear jack shit even when I use headphones. I get so anxious trying to figure out like what's being said. It really ruins the mood. So even if it's just moaning, I'll be asking myself like, what did I miss something? Did she say something? I'll be like looking in the background of the video, trying to figure out if there's like clues to something going on that I missed. Ugh, God, it's so disruptive. Besides, what am I gonna do? Put subtitles on porn? That's a little excessive in my opinion. I may as well read something dirty. There's plenty of people, I think what I meant to say was women, who love written erotica. And I'm not one of them. I think I was clear. I don't want to look at subtitles. I want to jazz. Yet, I gotta admit, I do love getting the occasional dirty text message. When I'm dating someone, it's nice to get a reminder that I'm wanted. Let me say that louder and slower to make sure you understood what I just said. When I'm dating someone, it's nice to get a reminder from the person I'm dating, as in my boyfriend or girlfriend, who I consent to sending me filthy, disgusting, devilish, moist messages. It's nice to get those texts only from a certain someone. It's nice to know the person I'm dating wants me, quote, the person I'm dating, end quote, as in, not you, random human or hopeful acquaintance. I don't know how much more clear I can be. If there is a split second where you wondered, does she want me to? If I wanted you to, I'd have asked a long time ago. So if you send me unsolicited dirty messages or dick pics, I will throw you to the wolves. But when you are the person who is allowed to send me those kinds of messages, it's pretty rad to get them. The majority of people I know usually only talk to me because they want something, and it's not my body. It's something egregious, like asking me to attend the class they haven't been able to fill or spot them $50. So when I get a text that says, hey, saw a wacky waving arms inflatable guy, thought of you, winky emoji, I'm flattered. And you know I send dirty texts too. Come on, who doesn't? If you don't, grow the fuck up already. God, and if you know anything about my personality, you know I like to keep it spicy. I like to tease my lover with raunchy promises about what's to come, like, I'll destroy your life in court. But I'll be honest, I don't send dirty texts nearly as often as I would like because I have a knack for sending messages to the wrong people. I remember one time I was living with a guy I was dating. And one day, after he got on my nerves for the same old shit the fucking umpteenth time, I angrily texted my best friend about all of my grievances and ended my 20 back-to-back texts talking mad shit about him with, God, I should just break up with him already. And I thought it was weird that she didn't respond to me in her usual timely manner. But she didn't respond because I didn't text her. I texted my boyfriend, who was sitting in the other room. Sorry. Yeah, I'm still here. It's just, even though it's been years, my spirit leaves my body every time I think about it. And in case you're wondering, yeah, we broke up. Ultimately, I'm glad we did, but I wasn't ready for that jelly, and neither was my ex-boyfriend. That's how TikToked I am. I can't be held liable for what I say and to whom when I'm drowning in emotions, especially over text. I already know how mortifying it is when someone who's not supposed to see your conversation gets access to it. But what if your dirty, most sexually explicit messages were kept as historical artifacts? Texting has been around for less than 30 years. Seriously, the first text message was sent on December 3rd, 1992, mere months after I was born. The internet first came online in 1983, but didn't become a mainstream success until about the mid-90s. Prior to this, if you wanted to hook up, you had to call someone, write a letter, or respond to a classified ad. Well, now I feel like I'm dating myself. Back in my day, we had to put an ad in the newspaper to fuck. Can you imagine if someone read your private sex letters just for funsies? I can, a little at least, because my mom used to read my diary either directly to me or in front of me to house guests. And that shit hurt the first couple of times it happened. But then I realized, she's not the one in control here. It's my diary, and I'll write whatever I want. With the right attitude, anything can be fun. So when my mom read my diary for the whole world, it wasn't factual. I knew that she was trying to control me with psychological torment, and it takes two to tango, baby. Oh yeah? Well, my mom wanted to destroy me emotionally, but I wrote smut so bizarre and animalistic, I made her regret her entire life. This is my villain origin story. If you want your kids to be cool, treat them ruthlessly. Apparently Whitney Cummings has a bit about this already. She says, and don't quote me exactly on this, but Whitney Cummings says something along the lines of, if you have daddy issues, you become a stripper, and if you have mommy issues, you become a stand-up comedian. Think about it. If you have a mean dad, you become sexy in a sad way. But if you have a mean mom, you use humor to make yourself tolerable. Not fuckable. Tolerable. And I've written and said some nasty things, but my craziest, raunchiest thoughts pale in comparison to the letters that I'm about to read. Most of the subjects are famous in some way, so they won't need much of an introduction. I'll do a little pinch of backstory, followed by their musings. And rest assured, everybody whose letters that I'm reading here today, they're all dead. They're not going to hear this. They're not going to get secondhand embarrassment being reminded of their horny desperation. It's all good, guys. We're in the clear. So please, by all means, just sit back and relax and enjoy the salacious letters that I'm about to read. Let's start slow. I'll begin by teasing you with some flirtatious romantic correspondence. We can let loose. This is a safe space for depravity. I'm going to seduce your sensibilities before mind-fucking you with a kinky finale. Let's open the gates of Mordor with Frida Kahlo. Frida. Who doesn't love her? She's one of the best artists in history. Born in Mexico in 1906, she contracted polio as a child. Due to the paralyzation of her legs, she began painting as a way to occupy her mind. Eventually, she did regain her mobility after recovering from polio, but one of the long-term effects was the stunted growth in one of her legs. A decade later, she attended Mexico's prestigious preparatoria school, and during her studies, she was in a serious traffic accident which left her with numerous fractures, internal organs pierced with shrapnel from the wreck, and a broken spine. She survived, but was hospitalized for months and would become bedridden for most of her life. Over time, she willed herself to walk again, but was never able-bodied enough to function normally. Frida is a bad bitch. She looked death in the face twice and scoffed. Plenty of people would lose their will to live if they were unable to leave their bed, but not Frida fucking Kahlo. Instead, she spent her time painting. She used her disability to her advantage and became one of the greatest artists of all time. Frida married Diego Rivera, a fellow painter, in 1929. Diego started as someone Frida admired and became her mentor and lover. Reading Frida's love letters to Diego made me swoon. The passion, you guys, listen to this. Nothing compares to your hands, nothing like the green gold of your eyes. My body is filled with you for days and days. You are the mirror of the night, the violent flash of lightning, the dampness of the earth. The hollow of your armpits is my shelter. My fingers touch your blood. All my joy is to feel life spring from your flower fountain that mine keeps, to fill all the paths of my nerves which are yours. She even throws in a little artistry to vow her love of Diego. All this madness, if I asked it of you, I know, in your silence, there would be only confusion. I ask you for violence in the nonsense, and you give me grace, your light, and your warmth. I'd like to paint you, but there are no colors, because there are so many, in my confusion, the tangible form of my great love. Where can I get a lover who writes to me like this? I love you so much, no color compares. Oh, Frida, I'm gonna come undone. I'm sure this is all lovely, but there is a catch. Diego and Frida's relationship was tempestuous and marked by affairs on both sides. Diego did Frida dirty by sleeping with her sister. Whoa. That's not good, but don't worry. Frida got Diego back, in her own way, by having multiple affairs, and fucked them at her sister's house. Eye for an eye, I guess. Most notably, Frida is rumored to have had a lesbian affair with artist Georgia O'Keeffe. Georgia and her then-husband had visited Diego and Frida, and the artist struck up quite the friendship. Frida is said to have flirted with Georgia in front of Diego, the latter of whom was charmed by the inappropriate nature of the friendship. Diego didn't consider the affair a threat, as Georgia was a woman. I find this line of thinking hilarious, because women are far superior lovemakers. Women always have and always will have an intuitive understanding of each other. Women also have deep carnal knowledge of their bodies, and men trick themselves into believing this isn't a threat. You fools. What do you think we're doing in the bathroom together? Oh, I don't need to redo my makeup. The only making up I'm doing is for all the orgasms that you're not giving me. Why do you think women go bananas when Shania Twain says, "Let's go, girls"? Man, I feel like a woman isn't just a banger. It's also a lesbian dog whistle. But I digress. Georgia moved away, but Frida continued to chat with her from time to time. Frida only ever sent one letter to Georgia, but this letter was cherished and treated like an artifact. Georgia called the letter the humane art, because of Frida's profound compassion and emotional insights. The letter was preserved by the Beneke Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale. The letter reads, Georgia, was wonderful to hear your voice again. Every day since I called you and many times before months ago, I wanted to write you a letter. I wrote you many, but everyone seemed more stupid and empty and I tore them up. I can't write in English all that I would like to tell you, especially to you. I'm sending you this one because I promised it to you. I felt terrible when Sybil Brown told me that you were sick, but I still don't know what is the matter with you. Please, Georgia, dear, if you can't write, ask your friend to do it for you, and let me know how you're feeling, will you? I'll be in Detroit in 2 more weeks. I would like to tell you everything that's happened to me since the last time we saw each other, but most of them are sad, and you mustn't know sad things now. After all, I shouldn't complain because I have been happy in many ways, though. Diego is good to me, and you can't imagine how happy he has been working on the frescoes here. I have been painting a little too, and that helped. I thought of you a lot and never forgot your wonderful hands and the color of your eyes. I will see you soon. I am sure that in New York I will be much happier. If you're still in the hospital when I come back, I will bring you flowers, but it is so difficult to find the ones I would like for you. I would be so happy if you could write me, even 2 words. I like you very much, Georgia. I'm not crying, guys. It's just been raining on my cheeks. You know, I gotta say, despite the affairs and fights, Frida and Diego stuck it out together until her death in 1954. Another couple who stuck it out despite their better judgment was Zelda and F. Scott Fitzgerald, the man who wrote The Great Gatsby. Francis Scott Fitzgerald was born in Minnesota in 1896. His mother comes from a family that made a decent amount of money off of a grocery chain, and his father was a salesman. The Fitzgeralds moved around the States and eventually settled in St. Paul after his father lost his job. Zelda, on the other hand, was born in Montgomery, Alabama, and was the youngest of 6 children. As a child, she was highly active. She was a dancer and spent most of her time enjoying the outdoors. Zelda was a bright student but couldn't be bothered with school. She was a social butterfly. She drank, smoked, and spent much of her time with boys. I can definitely relate to Zelda more than Francis. She was the spice of life. Nothing could stop her from doing what she wanted. Zelda and Francis met in 1918 when he had volunteered for the army. He was stationed just outside of Montgomery. He wooed Zelda with dreams of being famous, living lavishly, and kept her attention by sending his writings. Zelda became Francis's muse. The writer was so taken with her that he frequently took writings directly from her letters for his works. Zelda was brilliant in her own right. She never held back her emotions. You would never wonder what she was thinking or feeling. For example, in one of her letters to Francis, she says, "How inanimate I am when you're gone. I can't even hate these damnable people. Nobody's got a right to live but us, and they're dirtying up our world, and I can't hate them because I want you so." In case you missed that, Zelda loves Francis so much she thinks everyone else should die. Much like Diego and Frida, though, Zelda and Francis had an intensely passionate romance. One might say they were maybe a little codependent and emotionally incestuous. Zelda was known to have significant mental health struggles. She had a nervous breakdown and was diagnosed with schizophrenia. However, that diagnosis has been challenged over the years, and she is now thought to have had bipolar disorder instead. There really is something to be said for those with fiery emotions. Here are some more quotes from various letters from Zelda. "I don't want to live. I want to love first and live incidentally. All these soft, warm nights going to waste when I ought to be lying in your arms under the moon, the dearest arms in the world, darling arms that I love to feel around me. How much longer before they'll be here to stay? The night you gave me my birthday party, you were a young lieutenant and I was a fragrant phantom, wasn't I? And it was a radiant night, a night of soft conspiracy, and the trees agreed that it was all going to be for the best. Look, if y'all don't start referring to me as the fragrant phantom, there's gonna be a problem." Despite her feelings for Francis, I believe Zelda wrote the best about herself. My favorite line of hers is, "I'm rather angry because people won't let me be insane." Same, Queen. Same. Alright, I think we've tested the waters long enough. It's time to go a little deeper. Marilyn Monroe was married to playwright Arthur Miller from 1956 to 1961. Marilyn was, and is, one of the most beautiful public figures in history. She was born in Los Angeles in 1926. Sadly, she came from a broken home and didn't have much growing up. As a teenager, she started modeling and her luck began to turn around. As a young adult, she began to have smaller roles in films and made major success in 1953 with the films Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire. Arthur Miller, on the other hand, was born in 1915 in Manhattan, New York. His father was a Jewish immigrant and his mother was a native New Yorker. The Millers nearly lost everything in the stock market crash of 1929. He helped support his family as a teenager and also saved money to attend university. After graduating from the University of Michigan, he worked as a psychiatric aide and copywriter before becoming a faculty member at New York University and the University of New Hampshire. Arthur and Marilyn met in 1951 and had a brief affair, and eventually, Arthur left his wife to marry Marilyn in 1956. She had just turned 30 and was excited to join the family of her husband. Look, it's pretty clear that Arthur loved Marilyn for the same reasons the world fell in love with her. In one of his letters, he wrote, "I will kiss you and hold you close to me, and sensational things will then happen. All sorts of slides, rollings, pitchings, rambunctiousness of every kind. And then I will sigh. And when you rest your head on my shoulder, then I will slowly get hungry. I will come to the kitchen, pretending you are not there, and discover you again. And as you stand there cooking breakfast, I will kiss your neck and your back and the sweet cantaloupes of your rump and the backs of your knees, and turn you about and kiss your breasts, and the eggs will burn. Like, yeah, sustenance is alright, but have you ever had titties for breakfast? It's the food of the gods. Sadly, Arthur and Marilyn ended up divorcing, which is a first for this list. Some love is meant to last, and others won't make it to dinner. Now we've got double trouble at its finest. Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen. Sid Vicious was an English musician best known for being one of the forefathers of punk rock. He was born in 1957 in London, England, and raised by a single mom. They moved to Ibiza, of all places, where his mother made ends meet selling weed. Sid and his mother eventually moved back to England in the 70s. He co-founded bands like The Flowers of Romance and played with Susie and the Banshees. Of course, we all know him due to a little group called the Sex Pistols. Nancy Spungen was a character in her own right. Born in Philadelphia to Jewish parents, Nancy was an emotionally disturbed child and had many problems with mental health as an adolescent. She was expelled from college and moved to New York City when she was 17 years old. Nancy made ends meet by doing sex work, amateur journalism, and odd jobs. She saved up her money and took a trip to London in 1976, which is when she met Sid Vicious. Sid wrote Nancy a letter listing the reasons why he loved her. What Makes Nancy So Great by Sid. 1. Beautiful. 2. Sexy. 3. Beautiful figure. 4. Great sense of humor. 5. Makes extremely interesting conversation. 6. Witty. 7. Has beautiful eyes. 8. Has fab taste in clothes. 9. Has the most beautiful wet pussy in the world. 10. Even has sexy feet. 11. Is extremely smart. 12. A great hustler. Hey, I can't really blame him. He saw something in Nancy. It seems like he really loved her. So how did it end? Well, with tragedy. After a bad drug bender, Nancy was discovered to be murdered in a hotel room. She suffered a single stab wound to the abdomen. Sid was arrested and charged immediately, but maintained his innocence. He pled not guilty and was released on bail, but unfortunately, he died of a heroin overdose before the trial even took place. Well, that was a fucking bummer. But I've got a raunchy follow-up to turn our frowns upside down. Gustave Flaubert was a French novelist, born in Normandy in 1821. He would mature into one of the founders of literary realism in France. I can't say whether that's true or not. What I have read of his wasn't necessarily profound, but is juicy enough to remember him by. Gustave wrote exactly one love letter, and it goes a little something like this. I will cover you with love when I next see you, with caresses, with ecstasy. I want to gorge you with all the joys of the flesh, so that you faint and die. I want you to be amazed by me, and to confess to yourself that you have never even dreamed of such transports. When you are old, I want you to recall those few hours. I want your dry bones to quiver with joy when you think of them. Nothing says I love you like I want to bang you so hard you perish. I don't know if any of you go on Reddit, but years ago there was a thread that asked, what's the dirtiest thing a spouse has ever said to you? And one of the top answers was a guy asking his wife to degrade him in bed. She accepted and understood the challenge. Without hesitation, she said, "Oh yeah, you like that, you fucking retard?" I think about this a few times a week. To this day, I still see people comment, "Oh yeah, you like that, you fucking retard?" Oh, it is unbelievably harsh. But maybe not as harsh as I want to fuck you to death. Another literary master and champion of vices, one Mr. Charles Bukowski, wrote saucy letters too. He didn't merely write perversion, he embodied it to the fullest. If you're not familiar with Bukowski's work, he is arguably the crassest writer in modern history, and he's got a really interesting life story too. Bukowski didn't even become famous for his writing until he was in his 60s, and he was born in 1920 in Germany to an American father who was in the military and a German mother. The couple would eventually move back to and settle in America. For most of his life, Bukowski worked at the post office and would submit short stories to various publishers. He was an avid poet and would do legendary live readings where a riled-up, intoxicated crowd would try to fight him. But why, might you wonder, would the crowd want to fight him? Well, let's put it this way. The author wasn't one to shy away from the darker aspects of life, and that included misogyny, drinking and drug use, abusive relationships, and philandering. He wrote about his perspective bluntly and never apologized for who he was. One time, I tried to read one of his novels in public. I was at a cafe and had to move seats several times once I started perusing the pages of Post Office. I found a dark corner away from everyone else because I was mortified by what I read. I was worried someone was gonna look over my shoulder and then yell that I should be ashamed of myself. That's how racy his work is. And his love letters? Well, they're no exception. Bukowski wrote a smoking hot account of his most cherished memories to Linda King in 1972. And I quote, "I liked your hand-walking act. That got me hotter than hell. Everything you do gets me hotter than hell. Throwing clay against the ceiling? You dirty bitch. You red-hot shrew. You lovely, lovely woman. You have put new poems and new hope and new joy and new tricks into an old dog. I love you. Your pussy hairs I felt with my fingers. The inside of your wet, hot pussy I felt with my fingers. You, up against the refrigerator. You have such a wonderful refrigerator. Your hair dangling down, wild, you there, the wild bird of you, the wild thing of you, hot, lewd, miraculous. Twisting after your head, trying to grab your tongue with my mouth, with my tongue. We were in Burbank and I was in love, ultramarine love. My good goddamn goddess, my goad, my bitch. My beating, breathing hairline cunt of paradise. I love you. And your refrigerator, as we grabbed and wrestled that sculpted head watching us and his little, lyrical, cynical love smile burning. I want you. I want you. I want you, you. The first time I read this, I was shivering from laughter. What got me here is he has one moment of sanity. Just enough coherence to compliment how much he likes her refrigerator, then plunges back into his lustful fervor. Next time you're stacking books with someone, take a momentary pause to compliment their appliances. I guarantee they'll remember you the rest of their life. Before we explore new kinks, let's have a little palate cleanser. I think you'll appreciate taking a break after that hand-standing, clay-throwing, refrigerator-admiring, hairy, wet pussy roller coaster. George Carlin. Oh, we love George Carlin. Comedy daddy extraordinaire. George was born in Manhattan, New York in 1937. His parents were Irish immigrants and he had one brother who was a major influence on his work. He joined the Air Force as a young adult, but it was clear there were bigger things meant for him. He was court-martialed 3 times and received many punishments and reprimands, including being labeled as an unproductive airman. He began to appear on TV in the 1960s and released many infamous stand-up specials throughout his career. George was tough but tender, like a brisket. He had a leathery exterior, but a rich inner world of love for his wife Sally. It's evident he couldn't contain how much he loved her. Sally Burger. If you took the number of all the subatomic particles in the universe and multiplied that number times itself that many times, then added the total number of microseconds since the beginning of time times itself, then added 803, you would still have only the tiniest fraction of a billionth percent of the amount of love that I have for you. Love, your candle partner, the romantic Mr. Carlin, your eternal flame. Aww. It's so precious that someone as bitter and cynical as George Carlin could write something so romantic. Alright, but you didn't come here for the romance. Enough of the sappy shit. Right here, right now, we're getting freaky. Your safe word is the pause button, and if you use it, your name is pathetic. Oh, but what if I have to go to the bathroom? Nonsense. Get over here and piss in my mouth. You came here for a show, and you're gonna get what you deserve. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart is not someone I thought I would ever bring up in this context. But here we are. Mozart. Yes, the Mozart. With his symphonies. He had some curious proclivities. But first, the man himself. Mozart was born in 1796 in the region that's now known as Austria. Yeah, that place beside Germany. You know, the Germans. They might be known for a few things. Strudel, Oktoberfest, Nazis, and Scheisse appreciation. Seems like Germany had a bit of an influence on Austria, particularly Mozart. Mozart sent this twisted letter to his love interest, who, by the way, was his cousin Marianne. Oh, did you think it was gonna stop at poop? No, of course not. It's not just poop, it's incest too. Mozart wrote this, whatever the fuck this is. Wouldn't you like to visit her goldsmith again? But what for? What? Nothing. Just to inquire, I guess, about the what the fuck? The spunny cunny fate. Nothing else? Nothing else? Well, all right. Long live all those who, how does it go on? I now wish you a good night. Shit in your bed with all your might. Sleep with peace on your mind, and try to kiss your own behind. I now go off to Never Never Land, and sleep as much as I can stand. Tomorrow we'll speak freak sensually with each other. Things I must tell you a lot of, believe it you hardly can, but here tomorrow it already will you. Be well in the meantime. Oh, my ass burns like fire. What on earth is the meaning of this? Maybe Muck wants to come out? Yes, Muck. I know you, see you, taste you, and what's this? Is it possible? Ye gods! Oh, ear of mine, are you deceiving me? No, it's true. What a long and melancholic sound. Today is the right I fifth this letter. Yesterday I talked with the stern Frau Cherfuston, and tomorrow on the 6th I will give a performance in her chambers, as the first insurer said to me herself. Now for something real sensual. To learn Mozart had a scat fetish for his cousin made my jaw hit the floor. It's almost as bad as the time I realized my mom's name isn't Mom, and she had a whole life before having me. Everything I know was a lie. I had to end this episode with someone, none other than my own arch nemesis, James Joyce. James Joyce is considered one of the best writers of all time, but to me, he's the guy who needs to give me back the time his novel Ulysses stole from my life. This fuckhead was born in Dublin, Ireland in 1882. His first novel, Ulysses, was published in 1922 and is still subject to academic studies and actively being interpreted to this day. James wanted to write a book deliberately confusing, and boy, did he ever. No one has ever cracked all the rhymes, riddles, or puzzles of Ulysses. And I can't contest that it isn't a brilliant work or that he didn't accomplish his goal. All I'm saying is fuck you, James. Is reading this mischievous a form of vengeance for the life I've lost and the tears I've cried? No, I don't think so at all. James Joyce's works are inherently lewd and have been banned in numerous countries. He wouldn't bat an eye knowing his filthy letter to his wife is being read. He'd probably revel in that fact. So without further ado, here is the dirtiest sex letter of all time. My sweet little whorish Nora, I did as you told me, you dirty little girl, and pulled myself off twice when I read your letter. I am delighted to see that you do like being fucked arseways. Yes, now I can remember that night when I fucked you for so long backwards. It was the dirtiest fucking I ever gave you, darling. My prick was stuck in you for hours, fucking in and out under your upturned rump. I felt your fat, sweaty buttocks under my belly and saw your flushed face and mad eyes. At every fuck I gave you, your shameless tongue came bursting out through your lips, and if I gave you a bigger, stronger fuck than usual, fat, dirty farts came spluttering out of your backside. You had an arse full of farts that night, darling, and I fucked them out of you. Big fat fellows, long windy ones, quick merry cracks, and a lot of tiny little naughty farties, ending in a long gush from your hole. It is wonderful to fuck a farting woman when every fuck drives one out of her. I think I would know Nora's farts anywhere. I think I could pick hers out in a room full of farting women. It is a rather girlish noise, not like the wet, windy fart which I imagine fat wives have. It is sudden and dry and dirty, like what a bold girl would let off in fun in a school dormitory at night. I hope Nora would let off no end of her farts in my face so that I may know their smell also. You say when I go back you will suck me off and want... You say when I go back you will suck me off and you want me to lick your cunt, you little depraved blackguard. I hope you will surprise me sometime when I am asleep, dressed, steal over to me with a whore's glow in your slumberous eyes, gently undo button after button in the fly of my trousers, and gently take out your lover's fat Mickey. Lap it up in your moist mouth and suck away till it gets fatter and stiffer and comes off in your mouth. Sometimes I, too, shall surprise you asleep, lift up your skirts and open your drawers gently, then lie down gently by you and begin to lick lazily round your bush. You will begin to stir uneasily, and then I will lick the lips of my darling's cunt. You will begin to groan and grunt and sigh and fart with lust in your sleep. Then I will lick it up faster and faster, like a ravenous dog, until your cunt is a mass of slime and your body wriggling wildly. Good night, my little farting Nora, my dirty little fuckbird. There is one lovely word, darling, you have underlined to make me pull myself off better. Write me more about that and yourself, sweetly. Dirtier, dirtier. A shower, no matter the duration or temperature, will ever make me feel better after reading that. What is with these guys and fucking farts, man? Like, what? I mean, I guess when you really miss someone, maybe their farts sound like angels singing, I guess? You know what? James Joyce, oh, I could just shake him. You know what the biggest fuck you in this whole letter was? Did you hear it? Did you? And I quote, "There's one word underlined in one of your letters that made me jack off. Yeah, more of that word, which I will not write in this letter. You know what it is." God, James Joyce just makes me want to tear my fucking hair out. And not from being overwhelmed with pleasure. He is tee-heeing in his grave, jerking off to secrets. I'm not trying to yuck your yum, James, but that's psychotic. I think I've revved your motors farther than they could ever take you. So, alright guys. Time to clean myself up, and don't worry, I'll leave the money on the nightstand. I hope you enjoyed the vilest sex letters in history, you little sluts. I'd like to do a bonus episode on funny sex stories, so if you have any you'd like to send my way, please email me at broadstatement42069@gmail.com. Again, you can support me on Patreon, where you'll get early access to episodes, bonus episodes, and other exclusive content. You can follow me on Instagram, Spotify, or YouTube. Just look up Broad Statement. You'll know you're at the right page when you see my cute, dumb face. And to say I'd assault you with a friendly weapon is a bit of a broad statement. Bye, everyone.